Well, hi everybody, welcome to Afterburner. I'm Bill Whittle. Common Core is the name of a program being pushed hard now by the genetically defective control freaks that have always lurked around the edges of and now have fully infested what was once the freest, least intrusive capital city of any major nation in the world, namely Washington, D.C. Hey, parenthetically, every time I visit that wretched hive of scum and villainy now, I become more and more saddened that we named it after one of perhaps 2 or 3 men in all of human history who voluntarily walked away from concentrated power. If we'd had any understanding of human nature at all, we should have called this nation's capital Arnoldville. There's been a fair amount of heavy breathing from those of us on the right as we run a fine-tooth comb through the particulars of Common Core, but it's not the particulars that are the problem. The problem is the entire idea. One massive totalitarian federal education standard that will be applied to every schoolhouse in the country. It's the concentration of power in an age of dispersing power, and like other doomed, massive, slow, pea-brained creatures, progressives and politicians just love it, and they're so busy staring down in wonder at it that they fail to see the glowing light in the sky behind them, which is the reality of the information age entering the atmosphere to blow them to smithereens and leave only the small, the smart, the decentralized, and the agile. Common Core is Obamacare for education. If you like your current teacher, you can keep your current teacher. Sure you can. And like Obamacare, with Common Core, all of the faults get incorporated into a single point of failure, and then that point fails. But you can always call the toll-free number 1-800-I'm-SHOCKED, which will play a recording directing you back to the Common Core website, which will direct you to call 1-800-I'm-SHOCKED. One thing is for certain, there's no stopping them. Common Core will soon be here. I, for one, welcome our new Department of Education overlords. I'd like to remind them that as a trusted TV personality, I can be helpful in rounding up others to toil in their underground Obamacare phone banks. You know, I once had a chance to sit in on a small group and listen to what was surely the smartest man in Congress, Thad McCotter. Thad explained how the government, actually any government, is designed to administer the demands of the existing economic structure. In a widely dispersed, decentralized agrarian society that valued independence and mostly wanted to be left alone, well, we had a widely dispersed, decentralized federal authority that valued independence and mostly left people alone. However, as we entered the industrial age, people left the farms and wave after wave of immigrants flooded American cities because that's where the work was, in factories. You didn't have to be terribly well educated or have a diverse skill set to work in a position on an assembly line. That is not to denigrate the honest, hard work of it by any means. But essentially, you had to be shown which nut to tighten, and that was about it. American farmers, on the other hand, had a far wider skill set and tended to be far better read as well. It's a result of their small, decentralized, personalized, little red schoolhouse educations. You know, often there was one teacher who had the responsibility to educate the children of an entire town. That meant personal responsibility and also a strong, strong incentive to find excellent teachers, because if you only have one of them, they better be good. The idea of standardized, uniform education, applied indifferently at best and incompetently as usual, was designed to make cookie-cutter workers to fill cookie-cutter positions on cookie-cutter assembly lines. It suited a second-wave industrial-era economy. But Thad concluded that in the information age, where a person can order steel from China from his smartphone over dinner in a restaurant, the information age meant an economy that was small, fast, decentralized, local, networked, innovative, flexible, and constantly evolving due to competitive pressures. And his great conclusion was that once the economy came about, we still have a few toes back in the industrial era, but we are firmly footed in this new information age now. Well, then the government will be forced to become more decentralized because something as massive, fossilized, stupid, and slow as our industrial era federal government simply cannot manage an economy that fast and that agile. And he's right. He's also no longer in office because he's a quick-witted mammal in the final hours of the reign of the dinosaurs. You see, the problem with Common Core is the same as the problem with Obamacare: lack of competition, lack of innovation, lack of choice, lack of responsibility, lack of corrective evolution, lack of common sense, lack of dignity, accountability, individuality, and virtue. However tame or outrageous you may find the current Common Core curriculum to be at the moment is utterly beside the point. Once every state educational system and local school board is forced to conform to one federal standard, then the pointy-headed geniuses that gave us the Affordable Care Act website can work their big brain miracles on education. Once Common Core is mandatory, even if fairly bland and innocuous right now, then the indoctrination will begin. Once it's the law, once it's everywhere, once it's mandatory. What could possibly go wrong? You know, they're like the living dead, these people. They won't even let you run away from them. They want your brains. Well, they obviously need them. Hey, I have an idea. Why not scrap Common Core and abolish the Department of Education completely? If you were to plot Department of Education spending versus American educational results internationally, spending does this, and our test scores do that. The more we spend, the worse we do. So let's call Common Core what it really is. It's the Federal Ministry of Truth. And then let's throw that monstrosity in the same junk pile as our centralized healthcare monstrosity called Obamacare, before we get so used to federal authority that the sheriff of Mayberry is replaced with a SWAT team from the United States Police Department. Let's scrap the Department of Education so that kids can get, an education. So instead of one centralized curriculum written by the same best and brightest that brought you the Affordable Care Act website, stupid.gov, let's imagine 14,000 departments of education, one for each school district in America. Let's imagine that each one of them were trying different approaches. One bad idea didn't ruin the entire country for a generation, and good ideas could be copied and modified and improved even more. Then let's imagine that the roughly $13,000 we spend per student in this country, that's triple what the next closest country spends in order to achieve our 23rd place in international rankings. Let's imagine that that money was attached not to the Department of Education or the Los Angeles Unified School District or any of that, but directly to the student. Let's say that parents could direct their kids to any educational outfit they saw fit. Then let's say that other people, seeing $13,000 in cold hard cash per precious snowflake per year, scrambled to compete with each other in order to see what they would have to do to get that money so they can kill the planet with their private jets. What would that do? That would turn the DMV into Best Buy. People would shop around and they choose what they thought best for their own kids, their individual goals, their needs, and their temperaments, just like in the Little Red Schoolhouse days. Google Bullitt County School Test 1912. It's one of a couple of actual tests given to 8th graders back in the era of small, decentralized, individualized, personally responsible education. The people who designed Common Core would still be failing 2nd grade at one of those schools. Now I know this is difficult for progressives to follow. I mean, if people make their own choices on how to spend their own money on healthcare and education, then how will they get a chance to make us obey them and see how smart they are? And also, where are the opportunities for graft if people can just get up and go somewhere else if they're not happy? And if people buy their own healthcare and education, how do we get credit for it? These are the people that want Obamacare and Common Core.